You make no friends in the pits and you take no prisoners. 1 minute you're up 500,000 in soybeans and the next, boom.
Do not attempt to adjust your device.
The revolution starts now.
We have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Turn those machines back on!
You are about to enter the halls of justice.
Show me the money!
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.
Oh, and welcome to the Halls of Justice, everybody. I'm your host, Justus, and thanks for tuning in tonight. Before we get started, I want to remind you that if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or you have a show idea, or you'd like to be a sponsor, you need to shoot us an email. You do that at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. And remember, you have to spell it Justus. It's like just us. Also, please like us on Facebook. If you do so, you search at Halls of Justice. It'll bring up our Facebook page, and it's the same handle on Twitter, Halls of Justice. So be sure you get those in. That way we can communicate back and forth. Now, tonight, ever since I started doing this podcast, I've been trying to get an EVP expert on. I've been trying to find somebody who really knew what they were talking about, and get away from some of the local groups that go out on the weekends only. So, tonight I have a special treat for everybody, and we're going to pronounce it first, and then we're just going to call her K.O. Kadrolsha Ona, K.O. Let me tell you, she's extraordinary. She's got gifts. She can communicate with spirits. She's an energy healer. She heals past, present, and the future. She's done healings worldwide. She also goes by Queen of the Paranormal. She's a pop culture icon, author. She's into radio, TV personality. She's been on one of my favorite shows, Ghost Hunters, numerous times. A 5-time Paranormal Award winner. I think we've got it all covered, K.O. Did I leave anything out?
Yes, you forgot the movie segment. But that's okay. We can talk about that later.
That's right. I did look up your IMDb page. So, got some movies coming out. The question is, a lot of people are already familiar with you. They've seen you on TV a bunch of times. So, how did you get into the paranormal? How did you figure out you had the gift?
Well, I grew up in a family, 7 generations on my babcia, which is Polish for grandmother's side, of women that came from Poland, Russia, and Lithuania that had dream communication skills and spirit communication skills. And when I say communicating in the dreams, I mean trying to communicate with spirit in the dreams themselves, and also interpret the dreams. And so growing up in a household like that, bilingual in the languages of, Polish or that dialect on the Russian border, I really thought everybody was like this, that we discussed spirits and could see them, could talk to them, and help our neighbors out. And boy, was I in for it. When we moved up to up north to the Massachusetts area, I realized, there's nobody that I knew that could do this. That we moved from a very small, Polish community at Central Falls, right outside of Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And, I was an oddball for sure. And, you quell it for a while, and then you realize, God, you just got to be you. You can't live by somebody else's expectation of you. You have to be yourself. And that's how I raised my kids. But I just got back, into it. I just couldn't hold it back anymore. And I found that people in junior high school, their mothers would ask them to ask me questions. And I was pretty accurate. So I got to be known around town, quite fast. So I've been doing this, let me say, all my life. Born into it. There you go.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to ask,
sure.
Since you're in the Massachusetts area, and we're going to be talking about this, do places like Salem, where I've been to several times, do places like Salem that have a documented tragic history, do they have more paranormal activity than cities that don't have this?
Well, I would say when we say Salem, Massachusetts, I live in New Hampshire now, but in a border community. When you say Salem, Massachusetts, that's known all over the world for, witches, witchcraft, Halloween, all this stuff. But where the witchcraft really started, when it came to all the witchcraft trials and the witch hysteria, that started in Andover, Massachusetts, and then branched off into North Andover. That's where all this started. And in fact, per capita, Andover, Massachusetts had more cases of witchcraft than Salem, Massachusetts did. But Salem, the one thing that they did that was wonderful is they capitalized on it for tourism. And so that's why we're always thinking about Salem. But there are other places like Danvers, Beverly, of course, the Andovers with the witchcraft, all in there. And as far as having a high volume of, let's say, hauntings or whatever, they got some really cool cemeteries out there. I mean, they're old. They're so old. And I find that the older the cemetery, the more haunted it may be. You might get some evidence there. And reason being is because they didn't really know if the person was dead or not. They could have been in a coma, knocked out, from falling off a horse. And how do we know they didn't wake up, in the coffin? That's where the haunting comes from, like that. Now, if you get a more modernized cemetery, for, say, 1950s up, you might have mournful activity more than you would a typical I'm buried alive, situation. As far as Salem, Massachusetts, being extremely haunted, I would have to say that it's more entertainment value than haunted at all. That's because of they have a lot of conventions there. They have a lot of festivals there, and a lot of people are intrigued by the shops. And of course, Lori Cabot, the official witch of Massachusetts, lives there. I know Lori and her daughter. And so I hope I answered that question okay.
Yeah, you're breaking my heart, though. Every time I went, I thought that was the Mecca of witchcraft. So I've been led astray. So let's shift gears a little bit here. As I said, I had wanted to talk about EVPs, the electronic voice phenomena. And you're so nice as to have posted a bunch of them on your website. If people want to go there, queenoftheparanormal.com, and check it out. But before we start playing them and talking about them, can you explain to us a little bit about the EVP, the classifications, the grading system that they have?
Sure, of course I will. EVPs are absolutely fascinating. They are so fascinating when you actually can record something, play it back, and hear a voice or an answer to a question. And there's no one there. And so where is this voice coming from? EVP stands for electronic voice phenomena. Basically, you're just asking the dead a couple questions, and you play it back, and you hopefully get an answer like that. But the first people to originally come up with this concept, it was in 1959. It was a Swedish painter. He's also an opera singer named Fredrik Jordansson. He noticed strange voices on a tape recorder, which addressed him by name, and also odd things like that. And then there was a book written about it, and all this stuff. And when it comes to the classification, so it really wasn't Thomas Edison, it was somebody else. And when it comes to the classifications of EVP, one thing I have read, and you probably have read too, when you're doing research on EVPs, is they leave out one person's name. And why? I don't know. I'm only assuming because it is a male-dominated industry, they seem to forget that the classifications were formulated by a woman named Sarah Estep. Now, Sarah came up with Class A, Class B, Class C, Class D, and then throw it in the trash can class, basically. But, she came up with Class A, which was basically you hear it, and it's answering your question. It's as if there's a person standing right next to you answering that question. And you can have a direct response or an indirect response with a Class A, and that basically means, okay, you're asking, what's the color of blood? And you hear as clear as a bell, red. Now, that's a direct response. They're answering your question. Now, if you ask, what's the color of blood, and you hear maybe the name Billy or something, that's indirect. Somebody's trying to say something to you, but chances are it doesn't correspond with the question. Sometimes, if you really think about it, maybe if you research the house further or wherever the haunting may be that you're doing these EVPs, you might have found out that Billy was stabbed to death and bled to death. So the name Billy really did have something to do with the color red in blood. So this is why calling your information is so important. Now you got class B, which is you think you hear something and it's giving you a response, but you actually have to kind of like tell people what it's saying. Like, you ask them, did you die here? And you might hear a sound, but you don't hear a very clear yes or no. You hear something that you think it says yes, when it doesn't really sound like yes. But I think in a stretch, that's what your mind says, and if you put yes under it, it may sound that way. Also, they've got the Class C EVPs, which is just some sounds that can be barely heard, and they're maybe inaudible, and you don't really know what they are. I do know that a lot of they used to have this little recorder. I'm going back about 8 years ago, and they don't sell them anymore. They were for sale on Radio Shack. They were like paper thin. They looked like a matchbook or a small credit card, and they would pick up sounds, and they would turn those sounds into words, like for EVPs. And I didn't really care for that. But they would turn those Class C EVPs into almost sentences. And I'm like, I didn't hear that. So that's a strange type thing. And then, of course, when, you go, to the lesser classifications like D and blah, 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 F. And, of course, there's Class X. And X would be if it's played in reverse. Then you can hear it.
It's a little strange. So let me play a couple of these, and we'll talk about them. Now, some of these, the way you have them set up, they usually repeat. So we'll start with this one.
Sure.
And I think I've picked out the ones that I kind of like the best that I think I could pick out. So we'll go with this and see what...
44, it's 44 degrees right by your fucking heart. I've got one. 44, it's 44 degrees right by your fucking heart. I've got one right your fucking heart. Got one right your fucking heart. Got one right your...
Now, right after you say it's 44 degrees, you can hear clearly something is coming through.
Right.
But this is another one of those where right after you say the temperature, you can hear something, and until you actually put it on the screen, it says they are going to come, that I couldn't pick up what it was saying. So
right, some people can pick that up, some people can't. That's why I often will put up what it's saying, and that's just because, for one thing, we're putting it up on the internet, and everybody's audio system is different. Everybody does not have like crystal clear audio, so they're going to hear certain things. So yeah, I'm not really sure where that EVP is. I'm looking for it like crazy as we speak right now. Oh my gosh! But and do you have a second one that you're playing?
Yeah, I do. This looks like Hillview Manor in Newcastle, PA.
Oh yes, Hillview Manor.
Yeah. This one, you got the date is 4/16 of 2010. So we'll play it and we'll go from there. This is just a short one, 10 seconds long.
Can you say something?
Now, I'm going to stop that right there because I can clearly hear that one without you having to give any explanation. So let me run this again, and right after you say, can you say something, there's two distinctive things there, and it sounds like two different voices to me. The first one you have listed as them saying, you bitch. So let's go ahead with that one.
Okay.
Right there. And then there was another one right after it, and right there it says, I am here. So let's play that part again, the I am here part. Hey, clearly, that was plain as day right there.
Yes, I had gone there with Mary Ellen Guiley and John Zappis, and there were several of us. Bruce Tango from his son is Dave Tango from Ghost Hunters. John Zappis, of course, from Haunted Collectors, and Mary Ellen Guiley. She's a great EVP recorder and author of many, many awesome books when it comes to the paranormal. And we were doing a live broadcast, and I had gone in and I was doing these in the morning and then at night to kind of like get a gauge like where the hot spots were and things. I had my daughter with me, and it was an incredible place. During the day, there was a lightness about it. In the evening, that went away, and it was replaced by a beyond natural creep factor. But for the most part, you could almost like feel the dark energy, just like whipping down the halls and crossing in front of you, and I would like to say bumping in you, but possibly just going right through you. That place was amazing.
Before we move on to the next one, I promised people I would take some of their questions. So this one comes from April, and she says, there are multiple devices used by people. I would like to know what you have found to be the most reliable or credible. And her follow-up to that was, I have listened to many talking about EVPs, and although I sometimes think I can hear what they tell me I'm hearing, and other times I wonder if I hear it because my mind is telling me I hear it.
Okay, I understand that totally. I'm just trying to get to the page of the EVPs. What I have found, maybe not others, but what I have found is to use not the cheapest gear possible. Get something middle of the road, because middle of the road will kind of won't pick up every little sound, crack, pop, voices in the next building, voices outside or way down the hall, like that. I'm a firm believer. If I cannot hear it on my little recorder when I play it back, it's just not there. I go into these situations, especially with collecting EVP data, as a skeptic. I think it's great when we do our research and we have our earphones on, we got that stuff cranked up, and we got the latest gadgets and all that stuff. But I think to the layman out there who are in, especially new people to the paranormal, when they really want to get scared, they do. It's crazy, but if they don't get scared, they think there's something wrong with the teacher. But what I like to do is I like to show them what I do. I get a simple recorder. It's digital, and I click it. I think it cost me, I got it at Walmart many years ago when they first came out, and I still have the same one. And it's got the computer plugs and things like that. It's very middle of the road. I think it cost at that time $29, and it's a great little device. Now, if I got an expensive one, I'd be picking up all that noise from around. If I got a really cheap one, it may fail due to cold or banging it against something accidentally. It could break easy and not give you the accurate sound that you need or the clarity that you would need.
Now, along those same lines, you said you use digital. That was actually going to be one of my questions. Do you notice any difference between the analog and the digital?
Yes, I actually do. In fact, many of my, I started doing electronic voice phenomena and I say that, I've been doing it long before then, with an old Rogers tape recorder, very similar to what Sarah Estep used to use when she did her recordings, and also this Frederick Jordanson. I use a very small reel-to-reel. It's like a cassette you put in, but it's a very small one. And I would go out and I would do the EVPs and play it back. And that was in in 2000, and then we did a television show. I believe it was in 2005 for WNDS TV, and it was one of the first television. It was the first broadcast of a paranormal investigation where the EVPs were played back literally in real time. I would ask a question and play it back. I'd ask another question. I would play it back. And people got to see how instantly these things can be done. And from there, a lot of other people started using that technique instead of like recording everything and then going home and having 8 hours to listen to. You could quickly, just do it in real time. So my children and I were the first to ever do that, and that's really cool. I did find, for some odd reason, the tones seem to be richer. I was a backup singer for the Rolling Stones and Joe Cocker years ago, and I noticed when the audio, we had the analog audio, and then we converted it into digital audio when we did the great big concerts and things like that. And I found that the audio had a more robust, deep, rich tone when it was analog, compared to, even though the sounds were bubbly, crisp, and beautifully colored in digital, I think the warmth lacked in digital. And that's how I feel with the EVPs, that it's great to have you playing right back and all that kind of stuff. But I do feel that recording with the tapes had a little bit more of a rich, warm quality to them.
Yeah. Hey, we got to ask folks to stick around. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be back. We've got more EVP stuff to talk about with KO. This is the Halls of Justice. We'll be right back.
Would you like to be a sponsor or advertise on the Halls of Justice? Email us today at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. That's Halls of Justice, spelled Justus, at roadrunner.com. If you have a show idea or like to be a guest, you can email us as well at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com.
And we're back. It's the Halls of Justice. We're talking with the queen of the paranormal, KO. When we left off, we were talking about the EVPs. And my question to lead off this segment is, what kind of training do you need to go get these things?
Well, I think you just need a tape recorder, a good one, and a good ear for listening. Again, I'll go back to I like to take the skeptic's point of view. If I can't hear it, if it doesn't reach out and touch me, it's just not there. Because that's how I filmed when I starred as Cece Carroll and Cece the Huntress. Where I just did it all by myself with a cameraman, my son. And we had to, because of, being a woman in front of the camera, the paranormal, and I had to do it better. I had to show my work in real time, literally with the camera over my shoulder, looking at the lead screen for photographs, instant EVPs right off the bat. So you couldn't go back in and edit and mess with anything. It was just all live in front of you like that. So I would have to say, to be able to do EVPs or any of this stuff, I don't think you need a heck of a lot of training. You just need a tape recorder or a really good cell phone.
What do you think of the people that do the radio scan EVPs?
Like Ghostbox. They call them Frank Box, Ghostbox, all that kind of stuff, where you have AM channels or FM channels, depending which you have them skewed to. And they have like rapid fire, like almost creating static.
Right, yes.
Where the channels are going so fast, and then you can ask a question and hopefully a voice will pop out and stuff like that. I used to think, honestly, that it was just a bunch of BS. This was me until it actually worked. And I was at an event, and we were with a lot of the old Ghost Hunter show crew were there, and my husband was asking the ghost box a question, and it actually came back with the name of his mom and a bunch of situations where it was just way uncanny and too coincidental. And I asked questions about where so-called fertilization plans were kept in this castle. Where are they? And a lot of people didn't know, and some historians didn't even know, and I did some thorough research on this. Those plans were burnt in the walls. They were in the walls and burnt. And so the EVP on the ghost box came out burnt in the walls. And I was like dumbfounded. At that point, I started to believe in the ghost box. So don't ever like be a firm non-believer. Go into it skeptically, but darn it, it can just like hit you over the head going like, hey, I'm right here. This stuff is real. So that's my story.
Yeah. I guess, researching all this, you see them, and I'm, I guess, the same way. I always kind of took it with a grain of salt that this is kind of hokey.
Yeah.
You've had a firsthand personal experience with it, so maybe I'll have more of an open mind next time.
Well, you know what? There's no right or wrong to any of this, and all of it takes a leap of faith, just like we believe in the different religions that we have. That's a leap of faith. And you see the miracles, that happen in the Bible. You might have even experienced some of it. And the same thing with the paranormal. These things do exist, and I like to call them the wonderful world of the unknown, because they surprise me every single day. It's ever changing. You can't know it all, and that's the beauty of it, because everybody's opinion pretty much can be is very valuable in the field.
Alrighty. Let's move on. We have some more of the EVPs to play. Again, we're going back to the Hillview Manor. This is in the attic during the day. So we'll go ahead, we'll play it, and we'll review it, and then maybe we'll go over it again. So here we go.
Are there any spirits up here in the attic?
Now, I don't think
Hi,
that
this
one
is
really
Steve
needed any more than that. You clearly ask, are there any spirits up here in the attic? And then you hear that scream or moan. So let's do it again. It's your voice asking if there's any spirits in the attic, and then what you hear after that is strictly there's no one there. So here we go.
Are there any spirits up here in the attic?
I don't know about you, but that voice sounds tortured. That does not sound like a pleasant, we're here.
No, it's almost like get me the heck out of here screaming stuff. And not that I'm going to say that's the beauty of it all, but that's the fascination. I mean, some of this stuff is so unexplainable, but then if you think about it, the Hillview Manor, what was the Hillview Manor? And they put people in these particular facilities, sometimes not voluntarily. And it reminds me of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. I did Ghost Hunting with the Stars there years back, and you could just drop off your wife or a man could drop off a female relative. I think they gave him $30 or something like that for his trouble, and just drop them off. And they had to keep them there. And that's how these facilities were filled. Now, the Hillview Manor actually was like a nursing home. But I'm sure they had people that had, whether it was dementia or Alzheimer's or psychiatric problems, medication problems, and did not know how to deal with them the way we do now. You know, medicine and psychiatric treatment is well structured now and very different than it was then. So you're right. You're probably hearing, I would just say, mournful torture, terror, when it comes to or horrific strife or something.
Yeah. Now, hearing that, I have to ask you, are there dangers in ghost hunting? And if so, how do you protect yourself?
Oh, wear a helmet if you're going by yourself. No, I'm telling you, because I've always said this, and whoever I bring with me and we do events, we always tell everybody, go with something. It's called a buddy system, and it's that way for a reason, because you're in the dark, number one, because that's a creep factor. Spirits come out 24 hours a day. People like to be scared, like I said originally, in the beginning. So when you go to an event and they want to go ghost hunting, they want to be scared. So you're in the dark with flashlights. You got people walking around who are probably not as sure-footed as you are because you've been in the field. You know what to look for. You know how to trudge through all the stuff. And they're banging their knees. They're banging their ankles. What if they fall down and bang their head and pass out? Who's going to find them? It's always good to have somebody with you. Sometimes when you encounter spirits, you get a little lightheaded. You feel like you're having a heart attack sometimes, or you just start having a panic attack because it scares you. And so this is what we always say, is to bring somebody with you. Make sure you have a cell phone with you. But if you are using, let's say, an EMF meter, even if you shut your cell phone off, you can get a false reading. And so I try to go through all the different steps when it comes to how to protect yourself. Now, what I also do for people when they go to my events is I just make sure everybody's protected with a white sage spray. And also before when they're leaving, I just make sure I put that nice bright white circle around them so that will deflect anything that may want to go home with them.
Have you ever felt threatened by a spirit or an entity? Ever been pushed, scratched a bit, anything like that while you're doing any of this?
Well, it's funny you bring up being scratched because I don't think ghosts had fingernails personally. Right? So I don't know where the scratching comes from. What I think is happening is because their energy, again, we're engaged in energy now. And this has been scientifically proven. Everything has energy. So when you have a spirit and you're looking for that energy, in order to make your electronic equipment move, the energy's got to be high. So the energy gets so high, it almost as high as a laser beam that can cut you like in an operation. I think that's more along the lines of what's happening if you get too close to a spirit. Now, that doesn't mean the spirit's bad. It just happens to me it has a lot of energy that's going to touch you, and you're going to feel like a burn, which could be a nice little cut. And a lot of people say that that's like a fingernail and like that. So as far as that happening to me, I've been reached out and touched before, and in fact, in front of quite a few people, I was doing a crossing over of some nice spirits and then a containment of a bad one. But we contained the bad one first, crossed the other ones over, and then we were trying to put the mean one back to a portal and close the portal up. And we had about 10 people there, all in assistance. And these were paranormal investigators that actually knew what they were doing instead of just watching TV shows and thinking this is how it's done. A lot of them were mentored by me. And I started to feel a burning sensation on my front of my legs. And it was too much. And so I had my jeans and I pulled them down, and you could see these little marks, like 4 little marks across each thigh. And then they shot up to be about an inch long, and they all started to bleed. And it freaked half the group out. They went outside. They just flew out of that place. And so I'm like, oh, I'm bleeding. This is not cool. And I took some, believe it or not, the only thing I had was perfume in my pocket, but I figured it had a lot of alcohol in it, and I smeared it all over the place. And then continued with the containment and closing the portal behind this bad spirit. But that's my extent of something extremely evil like that. I think it's very, very rare to have, devils and demons all over the place. I think I don't think the devil wants much to do with me or you. I think they're looking more for the Holocaust, 9/11, that type of great big thing. Demons, that's rare. They do exist. These things do exist now. But it is rare, So chances are you probably went into a real badass spirit who was probably a badass person in real life, and that's what you're dealing with, and it's not a demon.
Now, you mentioned portals. Can people actually open portals by playing with a Ouija board?
Oh, my goodness. You know what? If you interview 10 paranormal, let's say professionals, and I mean not professional in manner, I mean professionals who actually get paid for the trade, who also act professional in manner. You'll probably get 10 different answers. Ouija boards nowadays are made by, Parker Brothers. That's one company. And they're made by young kids over in Taiwan. Pressed particle board, board and glue. And they're sent to be like a table game. I don't think they're any more opening a portal than an EVP recorder because you're just communicating. Now, the flip side to that is when the games were originally made, they were made of solid wood. And I think that because of that solid wood and that solid energy in there, not disrupted by the glue and the particle board or made by kids. These were made by adults. And I think at that point you might have some problems. And especially when you have a Ouija board made for the purpose of communicating with the dark side. And people do make them for that. And that's how they influence that board. At that point, you got some trouble. But when you got like a little table game, I think you're only fooling yourself with a placebo effect by making the board move. I may be wrong, but that's my take on the Ouija boards.
Yeah, I think I'm going to steer clear regardless.
Yeah.
Okay, we got another EVP loaded up here. This says EVP from the gravesite of Chick. So we'll take a listen to this, and we'll see if it needs some explanation. And here we go.
Chick, do you know who I am? Can you say my name?
And there it is, right there at the end. And here's a CC.
Right.
Right there. So that appeared to be one of the spirits that was actually interacting with you then, had some form of intelligence.
The reason that gentleman knew me is because I lived in his house. And he lived in a home built in 1723 in Windham, New Hampshire. And Chip was a gentleman who ran a playhouse in Windham, New Hampshire, and all of the vaudeville acts used to come to his house and stay over. And they had the Windham Playhouse about 2 houses down. They had Houdini stayed there. Humphrey Bogart stayed there. The list goes on of all of the celebrities that stayed there. I think Bing Crosby was there as well, doing the summer stock theater and things like that. And Chip used to be the museum coordinator at the Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey Circus down in Sarasota, Florida. So he had a lot of, great influence as far as bringing the celebrities in. And he used to call himself the Great Osram. He was a magician. That's how we got to know Houdini and everybody. And so we used to do many, many events there. And Chip was always a very good conversationalist, when it came to the EVPs. So obviously being over by his grave, which I think we were with that EVP, he would know who I was.
Yeah, it had a connection.
Yeah.
This next one comes from, it says, your second haunted estate ghost hunt in New Hampshire. So we'll give this a shot.
Are you happy we came back? Are you happy we came back?
So you can hear that. Are you happy we came back? And they say, yes, ma'am, in a hushed voice. So let's play
How
that
polite.
I'm going to play this back one more time. So take a listen. They say, yes, ma'am.
Are you happy we came back? I'd love for you to come. We could play. We have a ball downstairs and a little dog.
Yeah, and on that one...
she said ball.
Yeah, you can hear it just ball. So,
yeah, that was amazing. That was that was taken in a room right off the bedroom that I slept in. And, my husband would go on business trips or whatever. I would just stay there with the dogs. It was a 19-room rambling estate. And I'd just be there all by myself with the dogs. No one wanted to ever come in that house. I wasn't afraid of anyone breaking in. It was notorious in the town that the place was haunted. They did a big newspaper story on it and everything. And just, people even walking down the street would walk on the other side of the street. They just felt, ooh, like the creeps, But I felt at home there. I didn't have a problem with it. I felt pretty safe. I figured the spirits would protect me, Right.
Well, let's play that one again, and this time you increase the part where they say ball, and then we'll move on. I think there's a couple more on this one. So
I'd love for you to come. We can play. We have a ball downstairs and a little dog.
Okay, so you heard ball. And in this one, you ask Peter, are you here? If you are, make a sound. And then instantly you can hear some sounds.
Peter, are you here? Make a sound. How many spirits are in this room tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you can hear them say 4, kind of in that deep voice. 4. So we'll go ahead and we'll play this with their responses amplified. You hear Peter making sounds, you ask how many spirits, and you hear the 4.
Peter, are you here? Make a sound. How many spirits are in this room tonight?
Yeah, so while you're asking the questions right there, do you hear the sounds they're making? Is that like something you hear off in the distance? That was all on tape then?
That's just on tape. There are times, where you honestly can hear somebody talking, and then you do get it on the tape recorder. I've done experiments where we've lined up three little tape recorders, digital tape recorders, turn them all on, ask a question. You'll get one question on one. Maybe there'll be the answer on 2. 3 don't pick it up. Only 1 picks it up. I mean, it's never the same. I have never had all 3 recorders, when they were going, pick up an EVP. All 3. There's always one that doesn't pick it up. And I can't figure out. There's also, they have programs where they can distinguish whether it's an animal sound or an environmental sound or human sound, let's say. I have to, and I know quite a few people have to beg to differ with that, because when we go out into these situations and we do use the recorders, and we know there really isn't anybody in this place except for you and another person, and you're both standing there not making any noise, and you get an EVP as clear as a bell, and it doesn't sound mechanical, like energy formed it. It sounds like someone standing there talking to you. And you're like, man, I don't get it. And, yeah, it can, with the forensic software, sound like it is a human voice, when indeed it was not, because there's nobody there to make it. So I don't know how they figure that one out. And there's, like I said, there's so many... so much ever-changing information and ever-changing equipment and software for these things. And again, I go back to if I can't hear it, it's not there. I don't want to crank the volume up. I don't have time for that. I want to hear it, and sometimes I like to hear it out loud, like if it's from another room, if they're trying to talk to me. And I like it when they reach out and actually you can maybe feel your hair being stroked or pulling on your clothes or something. I like to really be able to feel it.
Right. Hey, we're talking right now with K.O. We're talking with the Queen of the Paranormal, but we've got to take a break. It's the Halls of Justice, and we're coming back. Are you getting married or know somebody that is? Do you need a DJ for your party special event? Well, Music Masters Entertainment. Music Masters Entertainment has been in business since 1984 and have performed at hundreds of weddings. Music Masters Entertainment offers the complete sound and light show. They will MC your wedding reception, birthday party, class reunion, or whatever your needs are. Music Masters Entertainment. Look them up online at musicmastersentertainment.com. And that's music with a K. MUSIKMASTERS. Musicmasters.com. Or you can find them on Facebook at www.facebook.com/musicmasters. Music Masters has 3 packages and can fit anybody's budget. Music Masters Entertainment. Let them provide a musical atmosphere for your wedding, reception, or any special event.
Would you like to be a sponsor or advertise on the Halls of Justice? Email us today at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. That's Halls of Justice, spelled JUSTUS, at roadrunner.com. If you have a show idea or like to be a guest, you can email us as well at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. This is the Halls of Justice. He is your host, Justus.
And welcome back to the Halls of Justice. I'm your host, Justus. Thanks for tuning into our little podcast. Kadrolsha Ona, KO, is on the phone with us tonight. And shortly before we went to tape, I posted online that if anybody had any questions for you, they could email or contact me. So we got one from Rachel, and it's a little long and wordy, but it's a very important question. So I'm going to read it verbatim. And we'll think about it, and then we'll try to answer and help her out. So she writes, is it possible for a demon to haunt you but not do you any physical harm or try to take possession? She says, it's hard to explain, but I've had a visitor from time to time since I was a teen, approximately 25 years ago, who both terrifies me but also empowers me, if that's the right word. It's hard to explain. She says she has temporal lobe epilepsy, and some say that they are seers, mediums, psychics, etc., and others say we are hallucinating due to seizure activity. I've had paranormal experiences all my life and find it hard to believe they are the result of seizure activity, as I've had confirmation from family members and documented facts about what I have seen or heard without me possibly knowing beforehand. She says, I also have deja vu, but not like regular deja vu, where you think you've been in a situation before in the past. Hers is being in a situation from the future, more like a prediction of the future events. It's not the lottery numbers or world disasters. It's more like I have deja vu, and then something actually happens. You see where we're going with that one?
And I know exactly what to say. I honestly believe that as far as, what she's calling deja vu, I have that too. And I don't know a person that doesn't have it. I think we were born with the inherent ability to be able to forecast things that do happen. So when they do happen, we already know that they've happened. So that your body reacts and you're familiar with that. That's a normal phenomenon. So I wouldn't worry about that. That's normal. As far as her feeling there may be a demon that, I guess I'm not going to say inspires her or what was the term that she used?
Empowers.
Empowers her. I like that term. There's a demon that empowers me and scares me, but empowers me. I'm really wondering now. I'm very intuitive, and I do readings, and I do all of that too. And what I'm seeing in her is somebody that has been with her a long, long time who may be doing exactly what she says, empowering her. It could be a spirit guide. It could be a relative from generations ago that sees that she might need a little bit more encouragement, and they're there to help out. And so to use the term demon, I wouldn't think that would be a proper. I think maybe it's just a spirit that has maybe a little bit more forcefulness to it because it actually maybe really cares. That's why it's empowering her. To scare her, maybe she's just afraid of the energy that it's giving off. That could be too. So sometimes these things have simple positive answers. And not everything's a demon. Not everything's there to scare you. but it could be as simple as maybe they just want to help you, empower you with some positive thought, or maybe give you a different thought process to challenge you to be able to think out like equations and everyday life. And it could be something as simple as that.
Yeah, and she also asked, and I don't know if you have any experience with this or not, but she wanted to ask, what is your opinion about temporal epilepsy and paranormal experiences, science versus psychic sort of thing, if possible? I don't even know if that's in your field of study.
Well, yes. I have heard of this not just one time, but many times, and it's not just with the the epilepsy. It could be with any type of seizures, and they're saying because of the lack of oxygen and whatnot. And we do dream through them, and we do see things, but I really don't think that the two are connected. One's a medical thing, the other one is a paranormal thing. And I don't think that her having, intuitiveness through paranormal has anything to do with her medical condition. I just don't think so. My son suffered, before he passed away, he had Tourette syndrome, and he had some other, disabilities. He was highly intuitive. But that doesn't mean that his medical situation brought on his, intuitiveness when it came to dream interpretation. I think that's more genetic. That came from mommy, So I wouldn't think that the two were even connected.
Yeah. Well, thanks for answering her question. We're going to move on. Since we're doing EVPs, this one was captured on the site of the old Wyndham Playhouse in Wyndham, New Hampshire.
Right.
Do you know my name? That's what I mean, Stacy. That's what I mean, Stacy.
So I hear a woman's voice after you say, "Do you know my name?" It kind of laughs, and then it says, "That's my name, Stacy." So let's take a listen to it again and see if you can hear it.
That's what I mean, Stacy. That's what I mean, Stacy.
Any idea who Stacy is, or did it tie back to anything?
I have absolutely no idea who Stacy is. It could be someone that worked at the Playhouse, visited the Playhouse, was an actress at the Playhouse. Now, the name Peter or Pete that we use with those EVPs with Chip from the Wyndham House, I couldn't figure out the connection between this guy Peter until I really looked into the history. And Chip he actually had a lover named Pete. And so he also had a wife and kids, too. But his lover named Pete used to live with him over in the Wyndham House while the family lived in Connecticut. So that's how we got Pete on the EVPs. So, but Stacy, I don't know. But Pete,
right.
I do know.
Let's see what else we have here.
How old are you? Hi. How old are you? Hi.
So that one's fairly obvious, too. They don't respond appropriately. You say, "How old are you?" And then it's, "Hi."
Yeah.
How old are you? And then, hi. Take a listen.
Yeah, it's just a child.
How old are you? Hi.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a young voice, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
they're just wanting to say hello. That's all.
Yeah.
That's why I find EVPs extremely fascinating, because you never know what's going to come out on the other side. And the ghost boxes. I did a show inside. It was like a tunnel on the top of a mountain. It was really weird. It's called Dungeon Rock, and there was a tunnel that went into some water, and totally encased in granite. And the ghost box still worked. Figure that one out. And so there was a pirate with two Spanish girls that he took as his prisoners that were down in that dungeon. Next thing you know, I could hear Spanish music that were coming through, and also talking in Spanish for the ghost box. And I thought that was remarkable, since we were in granite. And so where is the current coming from?
Yeah.
Shit, that shouldn't have even got.
Now, I've heard certain stones either transmit or conduct energy, and I think isn't
Right.
granite and quartz two of the big ones that conduct that?
Well, limestone is a good one, and people don't realize, but in New England, we used to have, the lime quarries, and we would take through a process of calcification. You would take that lime from the kiln, put them in the kilns, the process of calcification, and we would mix that with horsehair plaster to make the plaster or the immature mortar for the bricks. And so when you go into an old home or an old inn, and you're wondering why your equipment's going off crazy, that could be because you have a higher concentration of lime within the horsehair mortar. Plaster on the walls. And there is a test for it, and I did that on one of my shows called The Quarry. You can see me scaling down about 40 feet on a free line. I just climbed down there and climbed back out. And what you do is you take a little bit of the mortar from, let's say, under a radiator or somewhere where you can get a nice little piece with you don't ruin the wall, and you drop it into a shot glass, and you put white vinegar in it. And if it's bubbling like Alka-Seltzer, then you have a high concentration of lime in there. If it's barely bubbling, you have anything. Or just take your hand and run it over the walls. You can feel bumps. If there's a lot of bumps, you have a high concentration of lime, which could give your equipment, a false reading. If your equipment is overly sensitive, you will get a false reading. If it's middle of the road, you might avert that.
Yeah. Now, I think I just heard an EVP.
No, it's my dogs. Sorry. They're howling. Mommy's on the phone.
Here where we're based, we are the sandstone capital of the world. Same properties there, or completely different?
Sandstone?
Yeah.
Well, I think as we're going in science again, all things give off energy, and that's the beauty of it. Now, whether they have a high concentration of energy, like they can make batteries out of lime quartz, I don't know.
Okay. They make buildings out of it. That's all I know.
Right. The sandstone is it's durable. Now, is it a good conduit for electricity? I don't know. I do know that limestone is.
I've heard that when spirits are asked questions, such as, and I don't know if you've posed this, such as, is there reincarnation? Sometimes you'll get a yes answer, some you'll get a no. So why don't they know?
Well, because maybe for one, when they pass away, we pass away with the same personality, the same voice. Like if we're jovial, we're going to be jovial. If we're going to be an old crotchety man, then that's what you're going to be. Or you're going to be someone who's sexually improper, that touches people. That's what you're going to be. Now, as far as reincarnation, maybe that gentleman just doesn't think so, or that woman. Maybe somebody else does. It could be just their point of view. It doesn't mean that they've experienced it. To them, if they still have an intellect, which they say that they do, because that's why a direct response is great, then it's just their opinion.
So
I know when I'm working with EMF meters and flashlights and all this equipment, all the scientific equipment, if you can't get it to work on command, then you don't have an energy source there with an intellect. Just to have equipment go off doesn't mean anything, because we have ebbs and flows in our environment, and in every single room, ebbs and flow of energy patterns all over the place. And so when you get a spike, so won't your equipment. If you get, depending on the ebb and flow, at that period of time. That's why, again, middle of the road equipment is wonderful, because it doesn't pick up every little thing like that. And so what I'm trying, I get a little off base. What I'm trying to say is maybe those spirits haven't experienced that, and that's their point of view. That's their intellect, and that's what they're telling you.
So what is your belief then when we pass on? Do we have the choice to cross over, I guess, and go to heaven? Are we doomed to hell, or do we have a choice, or maybe the spirit hasn't figured it out yet how to cross over, and they just kind of wander the earth?
You know what? It's kind of funny about that, crossing over stuff. Yeah. I mean, if I pray to my grandmother, I know she's with me, like, instantly. I can still feel my dog from 20 years ago. And I know they're all in heaven. So how do they come back? You know, I think it's an open door policy. People can go and come back when you need them. Sure, you can cross them over there, but when you need their help, they're right here. Some spirits don't realize they passed away. They're lost. They're troubled. You want to cross them over. Get them to a nice comfort zone, let's say, in their belief system if it's heaven. But that doesn't mean they're not going to come back. They're going to come back and help you, but now they have a direction to go home, too. Yeah. So they have a place that they are, and they come back and forth to help and assist, talk on EVPs, keep you out of danger, keep you comforted. And my belief, you were going to ask me, like, do I believe in reincarnation?
But I wasn't going to, but go ahead.
Oh, hey, listen, I think, again, it's a fascinating field. We don't know all the answers to everything. And I swear sometimes I will look at the pet I have, and I will swear he's a pet from 20 years ago. Even if it's for a brief period of time, I still see the personality, the behavior, the look, and then all of a sudden it's gone. It may stick around for a while. I do believe in that kind of reincarnation. I think the spirit can take over, you know, another like life form and just kind of have that life just for a little bit more.
Yeah.
So comfort you again that way.
I guess my next question then is, so if family members and spirits are actually able to interact with you here in the physical world through EVPs or otherwise, how come they don't do any shout-outs to family members?
Well, they do in my house, and I do know many people that I teach in how to receive the spirit world. There's a lot of teaching that goes on. I'm way different. When I have people come to my events, or let's say even if I'm at a Comic-Con or a huge convention, I take the time to teach so they can go on to teach other people how to receive and interpret the signs of the spirit world. Just because your body is gone, but the spirit remains. How do you tap into that? How do you know? And that's what I'm here to teach you. This is what I do. And, of course, with healing people as well. But I do teach people how to interpret those signs of the spirit world. So it's almost just like a shout-out. So you can feel them again. You can call for them, and you'll know if they're with you because you can feel their energy. Then you know the signs of the spirit world. So, but there are shout-outs. You just don't know how to interpret them.
This EVP I listened to is kind of unique. It doesn't really take any explanation, so we'll go ahead.
Can you see the new people in the room?
Now, it's a little hard to pick up, but you say, can you see the new people in the room? They say no, and then ow, and then that's how they sit. So take a listen again real closely, crank it up real loud.
Was that an EVP from the Red Mill, or is that one of the ones from the Wyndham House?
It's just labeled as 2 Class A VP and 1 full sentence Class A. So it's
right. I think that was at the Black Swan in Tilton.
Can you see the new people in the room?
Oops, sorry about that. Started playing again. But there we go. Yeah, so you asked it if it could see it. There was a no, and then it was, like, ow, and then that's how they sit.
Well, it's definitely Class A, no doubt about that one. But I don't think it's a direct response. I just think it was someone talking, wanting to be heard. That's how they sit. I can't think for the spirits, that's for sure. I wish I could, I wish I could, think for them and like, what are you thinking about, when you're answering those questions like that. I just think they've just got so much static going on in their own energy that they just blurt out these things.
Yeah, what's your favorite place to go and investigate?
Oh, my goodness. I don't like to go to the standard places which are done to death, and, you can read about those. They still do a lot of, para events there. I think it's great for the public. But as far as an investigator, I like to go to places that are brand new, haven't been investigated before. I do a lot of that. I find it fascinating in the streets under Salem, Massachusetts. There were tunnels under there from Derby Wharf all the way to the homes of the boat owners and the ship owners. And those tunnels were made to avoid taxation from the king. And then, the presidents, they didn't want to be taxed, so they took it all into a tunnel. And then they went to these houses, and then from the houses they went to the stores. But in those areas, those tunnels are well collapsed now. We did a show down there, and it was fascinating to be in that part of history. But I found there was just so much different kind of energy. Like you could feel wealth, you could feel poor, destitute, you could feel blood. It was just weird. I cut myself there. And one of the EVPs was I was mentioning something, and it said red or blood or something. It was actually telling me what was happening to my knee. I found that place was fascinating, filled with history and filled with a lot of answers, when you asked the questions to the EVPs.
Almost to a guest, to a person, they give the same answers. They don't like to go to... While they thought the experience was cool, they don't like to go to the Stanley Hotel because it's been done to death. It's always the new ones, the ones that haven't been continually had groups run through it. So.
Right. A lot of times it gets oversaturated, and a lot of that energy from the spirit world dissipates. It's like they get bored and go somewhere else. They're like, oh, I've had it. I don't want to perform anymore. It's like a freak show. They're gone. That's it. They're done. And that's why I like to go to. In fact, I'm known for going to a lot of places and discovering a lot of places that haven't even been done, and having events there and holding different things there, because it's important to have people get a good sense of what it really is like to do a paranormal investigation, what you come up against. And it's not all fun and games, and get some real substantive answers and evidence that they can bring home and share with their family. Like, look what I got on the EVP. Look at these pictures. And they're all, fabulous because the place hasn't been done to death.
Yeah.
And the spirits are very happy to communicate because they want someone to talk to. So they're all coming out, and you take great photographs. You get a lot of stuff. As time goes on and the years go on, these places end up little to no evidence, and it just becomes a spot where people come to be shuttled around like cattle and go see a celebrity or something. And I really don't think it's worth going to those things.
Well, I'm based in Ohio, so if you ever come here, give me a holler, and I'll come out to
I
one
sure
of your
will.
investigations.
Oh, it'd be fun.
That'd be great to do it firsthand.
Yeah.
So we're about at the end of the program here, but it's been so fun that I completely lost track of time. Tell me what you have going on. I see you have a comic book going on. You're in a movie.
Yes.
We got to talk about the movie.
Yep, I'm the first person. Never mind girl. Never mind paranormal. I'm the first person ever in this universe to be a superhero doing exactly what she does in real life, and especially I'm alive and kicking. So that's a comic book history first. That is 100% real, and that cannot be changed. I'm sure some people like to change it, but it's just too bad. It happened to me. And I'm going to be in a movie called Havana Run with J-Lo,
Pacino?
I can't think of his name. But can you believe that? Al Pacino. I remember
just a little star.
With the ceiling. Yeah, Al Pacino and Andy Garcia, and that's going to be a great movie. And I'm also going to be in an HBO series to be filmed. It's the life and world of Ronnie, the Rottweil Kerner, and he is a mob figure. He just got out of prison, and it's about his world. and the people that are in it, kind of like The Sopranos, but with real live mobsters. And I got a major role in that. And in fact, I just worked a case with Ronnie. He had called me up. His daughter experienced a situation with her ear and voices and like a scratch that we were talking about. And I explained to them that it was just the heat of the energy. And they didn't understand what was going on. And I explained it to them. It was the sins of the past coming into real time in the present, meaning that whatever affiliations that the mob had from years and years ago, even before Ronnie was alive, are playing out right now in your family room. And so what you need to do is call the people from the past forward to take care and escort this particular spirit out of the room. And so I worked with him, and almost instantaneously everything went calm and it went good. And that particular thing will be featured in one of the series that we make, because I work with him when it comes to these types of paranormal things that happen with his people that he used to work with in the mob.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to put it. It's just what it is. I'm a spiritual advisor.
What's your part in the Havana Run movie? Are you allowed to say?
I can say that I'm a badass. That's about it.
Awesome.
That's all I'm allowed to say. I'm a badass. And that's it. I used to be a police officer, so I know how to, actually carry a gun and use it, and I know all of that. So I was a shoo-in for that part. Ronnie's thing, the Kerner story, that's a whole other deal. I'm going to be the paranormal expert on that program.
Oh, I can't wait. And congratulations to all
Thank
your
you.
achievements. Yeah.
Anybody want to know anything else, then go to queenoftheparanormal.com. Everything's on there.
queenoftheparanormal.com. That's how I found it. So thank you again for being on the show, and we will definitely stay in touch.
Great. Thank you. And I really do hope you stay in touch, because that would be awesome. I'd like to come out your way and we can go hunting together.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Do it when it's warm, though, okay? That's all I ask.
Definitely. Please. Yes.
All righty. K.O., you have a great rest of the week. And again, congratulations on your movie, your TV show, and your comic book. And we'll be looking for them. queenoftheparanormal.com. Check it out, okay?
Would you like to be a sponsor or advertise on the Halls of Justice? Email us today at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. That's Halls of Justice, spelled Justus, at roadrunner.com. If you have a show idea or like to be a guest, you can email us as well at hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com.
Alrighty, folks, that's going to do it for this week's Halls of Justice. Thanks to Kadrolsha Ona, K.O., for coming on, and good luck to all her in her projects coming up. Don't forget, if you would like to be a guest on the show or have a show idea, you got to let us know. Reach out to us. The easiest way is by email, and that's hallsofjustice@roadrunner.com. Now, next week, we're going to have our palm reader on the air, and all the people that sent in pictures of their palms, what she's going to do is select the 5 best. I don't know which ones those are going to be yet. She didn't let me know. She's going to select the 5 best, and she's going to do a reading on the air. So if you were one of the people that submitted pictures of your palms for a reading, listen next Friday, because you might get to hear your reading. Halls of Justice, you guys have a good week. We'll see you next time.
This is the Halls of Justice.